Do you speak Italian?
No.
Great, then I'm fluent. If you spoke Italian, I wouldn't speak that well, but since you don't, I'm fluent. Ask me how do we raise capital for a new venture, and I tell them date a lot when you're young.
Okay.
Right? Because you have to hear a lot of no's.
Yeah.
So that when you get used to respectfully hearing no's, then when you're raising money and an investor says no, you've been there, you're used to it.
The man who describes restaurant as a 60-minute holiday, how would you describe yourself to somebody you just met in a small town in Europe who doesn't know anything about you? How would you describe yourself?
I think I'm the good that's also crazy.
Okay.
So I just want to bring love and laughter to everyone that I meet, and especially if they're in Europe. Hey, let's meet them with wine or maybe some gin or whiskey, depending on the time of the day. But yeah.
And what role do you think travel plays for an entrepreneur, like especially somebody who's in your industry?
It's critical. It opens up your eyes. It makes you. People all over the world are similar, but I think it's about getting world-class experiences. And I have to tell you a really interesting story. So I visited Brazil, and at this bar, I would order whiskey, and they would get the bottle to the table, pour the dram on the table, right? And they'll give you a little bit of an angel's share. And it was just so cool because you had all these different bottles that you probably had never seen. And instead of it being poured in the bar, they were getting it out on the table and doing this. So it's a practice that we said at Whiskey Samba we got to do. So I think travel plays that key role of learning from different places, seeing what's really working and incorporating the best.
True. So you think it plays a huge role as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, huge. Plus it's fun, right?
Yeah, I know. And you love travel, right?
I love travel, yeah.
So I've figured out that the book Alchemist plays a huge role in your life.
Yeah.
So when did you first figure out about it? Like who gave it to you? How did you pick it up?
So my girlfriend in college gave me the book, Alchemist, and there was this whole line about if you really want something, the universe conspires to make it happen. And I was working with GE. I was an engineer by degree, working with a great job with GE, but I really wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I said I want to try my hand at building a chain in India. But I didn't have the money, I didn't have the experience, nothing. But read the book and said, what the hell? Let's give it a shot. And quit everything, came back to India, and that's how it started.
Wow. So do you believe in the power of visualization?
Completely.
Yeah?
Completely.
Till today?
I practice it every day.
Okay. And do you read a lot of books?
Yeah.
Do you think it creates a sense of awareness in terms of new ideas and all of that?
Yeah, like it's as diverse as my interests. So that 100-year-old that jumped out of the window, then from there, Ramblings by Rusbe Barocha. So it's just different genres, but readings is like many lives put into one.
Yeah, right. So the way Ajay describes me about you, or the way I've read about you, I get this, a vibe of a phoenix, like rising through the ashes.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah, except I get burnt down every once in a while, more than I'd like to. But yeah, I think I don't think I can be put down for long.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what makes you think, how do you thrive, when you're going through a very uncertain period of time?
Yeah.
What makes you thrive through that?
It's like you don't give up. You can count, you can take a knock, you can count. It's like boxing, right? You take a knock, and then you count to 5 or 6, but before it's 10, you get up. And the key is just to get up. And
so is sports a large factor in the ability of yours to rise up from?
I think it's everything. I think it's sports, it's spiritual guidance, it's just that will to create something that you're proud of.
And how do you bring in that positive, motivating energy? Right before the interview, you did so many things for us. And in general, you're a very positive person. And that's what you hear in the market also.
Yeah.
So where does that come from?
I am a science student, and Einstein said that in science, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's got to be transferred. So the only way you can have phenomenal energy is if you surround yourself with really energetic, great people, good vibes. Because when things are sucking it out of you, you need to have that around you.
Yeah.
So the secret to great energy is just surround yourself with great energy, and every once in a while drink a lot of wine or gin or
Sure.
whiskey and
You're
be
good to
happy.
go. Yeah. And what did bankruptcy teach you?
You know, it taught me a lot of things, but it taught me top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity, but cash flow is reality. So never grow just because it's cool, or you know, it's kind of nice to have a location in Bandra or Khan Market or this or that. Nah, grow for the right reasons. And don't be afraid to pull the plug. I think the best entrepreneurs pull the plug early on before it becomes an issue with ego. So yeah.
So that's what you think. And what is the reason behind always, you know, whenever I see you, even in pictures, in person, in interviews, you know, it's always a very clean sense of dressing.
Yeah.
It's not messed up. It's not messy. Even if you're in Goa, it's always clean.
Yeah, you're right.
Why?
Yeah,
Like, is the influence your father, or is it
I think it's
you?
just because I'm old also, you know.
Oh my God. No. Even the younger ones, even the younger interviews of yours, it's always
you're
clean.
right. You're right.
Crisp
So this is
clean.
hilarious you say this, because me and my son are always fighting. His hair's messy, and you know, I just don't understand that baggy and old style of dressing. But I guess it's got to be my parents and my grandparents. They went in the army, my parents went in the civil service. So I think there's always been a sense of, you know, discipline, regimentation, and pride of dressing in a certain way. But yeah, I guess I should loosen up, because my son keeps, my
totally
son
cool,
called
but, you know, now it's like, I mean, when you see me, I'm sure you must be judging, but it's like, that's
No, I'm not judging.
That's how all of us do now.
You know what I was called the other day for my sense of dressing? He said, "You're such a boomer." I said, "Boomer?" I said, "What's up with a boomer?" This is my 11-year-old calling me a boomer. So hey.
No, it's sexy. It's nice and clean and sexy.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, is it because of your father, or is it naturally you are like that?
No, I think it's got a lot to do with the whole parents and upbringing, and yeah.
So tell me something about your father.
My dad, he's a storyteller. If I've learned passion, if I've learned just grinding away and, you know, work with high integrity, that's him. But he's a super fun guy. He's and when you're running a whiskey bar and you need stories for the 2,000 bottles, you can lean on him, and you know, he's a full storyteller. You know, this art of storytelling, that's him. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you always had a good relationship with him?
Yeah, absolutely.
How was the, you know, the switch of you getting into entrepreneurship?
It was a disaster. You know, there's a bureaucrat who's never worked for a company, let alone be an entrepreneur, and I go and tell him, "Dad, I'm leaving my job. I'm an engineer and I'm coming back and I'm going to be an entrepreneur." He asked me, "You want to be a waiter? Like, why would you start a restaurant? This is not what you've done your engineering and your work with GE for." But now, you know, it's been only 20 years, but he's super proud and he really enjoys it. Yeah. So, yeah.
And because you've lived through that civil services, you know, been around people who are in civil services, what are the good things you learned out of it? You know, just being around civil services.
I think it's just incredible. There's such a sense of integrity, which I think is important in any phase of your life, right? These guys, for them, money doesn't matter. For them, it's about just an honest day's work, and there's a lot of passion. And I think that itself is huge, plus the sense of travel. So luckily, I finished my schooling out of Rome. I studied in Iran, then I studied in Montreal. So I think the whole change, you know, being forced to excel in new environments every 3 years, 4 years is a difficult thing, but early on in life it's good to be thrown into that.
True. And do you think the diversity in your personality comes because you've, you know, studied in so many schools across the world?
I think so. I think it plays a huge role, you know. I mean, when someone asks me what's your favorite drink, and I look at that as diversity, it's favorite drink is about the time of the day, right? I mean, breakfast should be all about a mimosa, lunch should be all about gin, all the way up to sunset, then maybe switch to wine or whiskey depending on the mood. So it's the same with travel, it just teaches you so many different things.
True. And what are your fondest memories of school, you know, the school days?
Of school?
Yeah.
Listen, I went to school in Rome.
Okay.
And before that, I went to school in Iran, and God, they were different, right? And I loved both. I think I loved it. I loved my time in Iran. I loved my time in Italy. I've studied in India, Montreal. I think just friends all over the world.
Sure.
You know, do you speak Italian?
No.
Great, then I'm fluent. If you spoke Italian, I wouldn't speak that well, but since you don't, I'm fluent. So it's just different languages, different people, cultures.
True. So very early on, you got in, the idea of different cultures, diversity, and all that.
Yeah.
Right. So what made you move to India from North America? Like, why?
I
you were
just,
traveling
I
around.
had this crazy bug in me that wanted to create something and be proud of building a chain.
Okay.
And
but
I think
why
it's
the bug? Like, where is it coming from?
entrepreneurs have to be wired a little crazy because the odds are against you, and especially when you don't have money, right? Someone in fact asked me early on in life, they said, how do you, when I teach at, when I go to lecture at various colleges, they ask me, how do we raise capital for a new venture?
Right.
And I tell them, date a lot when you're young.
Okay.
Right? Because you have to hear a lot of no's.
Yeah.
So that when you get used to respectfully hearing no's, then when you're raising money and an investor says no, you've been there, you're used to it. So I think I just wanted to come back, and I had this deep desire. India, there was no, people love food, but there were no chains, and the whole opportunity was to create this chain culture in India, which was world class and international. So that was the passion behind it.
And how important do you think is the knowledge of alcohol, like wine, whiskey, and all of these things to create something like this?
It is critical. Listen, you can't. They say you can't polish a hollow shell or a white sneaker. You have to know your shit. You can't enter into something and not be passionate or not know it. So I mean, I really enjoy the beverage space. I really enjoy understanding, and there's so much passion and stories and history behind why a gin maker or a wine maker or a whiskey maker has made what they have. Sure. And the soil speaks, the botanicals speak, there's a story behind it, and I just love reliving those all over the world.
So a kid who's 21-year-old comes from a family, doesn't have any businessmen in it. How would you tell that person, how should that person convince his parents, and what is the idea, how should he chalk out a plan to reach somewhere here?
Well, he's never going to convince his parents. Let's be real about it, right?
Okay.
He's got to either run away, right, or marry rich.
Okay.
But the better idea would still be that be passionate about something and just refuse to fail till you succeed. But don't be a rebel without a cause. I see a lot of youngsters who say, I want to do this, but why do you want to do this? Why is it different? There's no answer to that. So be a rebel with a cause and then go gangbusters and make it happen.
Right. That's a really good advice. So, Sarah once said that she could never have an Antares in in Australia, like the one she's working in Goa right now, because of the Australian laws. So, what's the role of government laws? For somebody like you who's a serial entrepreneur, how much does it factor in what the government is doing in terms of laws for you guys?
I think it is, very frankly, it's hand in glove, right? Because we refuse to do anything that's illegal. And so the more laws that are progressive, the more it helps us. For example, the drinking age barrier coming down from 25 to 21. Or operating hours now have gone on in Gurgaon till 8 o'clock in the morning. In Delhi, it's till 3 in the morning. So I think all these laws are absolutely critical, and any city is known for its food and beverage culture. Sure. So the government can only help make that possible.
So you think it plays a big role?
Absolutely.
For a progressive law to come in generally?
A fair, progressive,
And you've gone through a phase of government laws impacting.
Of course, we've been through the 500-meter highway regulation where we had to shut restaurants. We've had, I mean, it wasn't because of the government, but we've had the whole COVID epidemic where restaurants were shut. So we've had our fair share of problems and closures, but it's part and parcel, right?
So one fine day, Ashish wakes up, gets to know about COVID.
Yeah.
What's his mindset like? Oh my God, like what am I going to do now? Like, because you have a business which is solely about people.
Yeah.
So what was Ashish doing at that point of time?
There's no other way. We were fucked. You can't operate. You can't, at that time, this is business revenue doesn't go down 10, 20, 30%. It goes down to zero. right?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, what immediately took over was the staff and the families, and just how do we take care. And at that time, we were also hit with migrant workers who were stuck all over the country. So me and my kids, we took all the supplies from the restaurants, which were going to perish anyways, and we would go out and distribute to a bunch of these people every day. And, you know, that was just nice to be of service in some way or the other. But it was a very difficult time.
How did you come up?
How did it come up?
Yeah. Did you go to a room and like cry your heart out and then come back?
No. You know what? This is when shit hits the fan. You just gotta swim in. You wait it out, and I think COVID in general led to a lot of constructive rituals and, you know, practices and all. But business-wise, it was super hard.
Really?
Yeah.
And you know, all of your restaurants have a vibe about them, and somehow I feel design really plays a role, you know, and a very important role.
Yeah, that's right.
For you.
Yeah.
So why is it that, you know, I mean, there are so many restaurants across India, and I've seen them, and some of them don't really take design or aesthetics so seriously. But for you, it's like to the T. Yeah,
because, you know, it's when you're entering a place, you haven't hit service, you haven't hit the food, you really look at the look of the restaurant and the vibe. And I luckily work with this incredible genius called Freddie Birdie. So Freddie and I, we do all our restaurants together, and it's fun. You know, we travel the world, we eat great food, we chat about what we want to create, and he's instrumental in creating the restaurants. Yeah.
And what's your comfort food?
I love Chinese. I love Chinese.
Does it change as per the city, or does it remain?
No, I love local food. So wherever I am, I love trying local food. But my comfort, my soul food would probably be Chinese.
That's why you're China?
That's why you're China.
Yeah. So if you're in Delhi right now, and I'm going to ask you, like, where are you going to take me for a comfort food?
Yeah.
Is there a place in your mind?
Delhi is incredible for food.
Okay.
So if you want, you know, if you have, I don't know if you've ever been to Old Delhi, but the whole culture in Old Delhi of kebabs and roadside and all is fabulous.
So you're all for it?
Once in a year, why not? I love it. And especially if you're going down, whether it's the chaat, the parathe wali gali. So there are specific things, but otherwise even really nice restaurants, you know, any cuisine, Burmese food, you have vegan food, vegan cafes. So I think Delhi's got a plethora of great restaurants, but North Indian and frontier food is the best here.
You spoke about Freddie, and then there's Sarah. So I just want to understand, how do you choose your people? You know, the people who, it's not about who you're working with. It's just your people, your tribe. How do you choose that? Like, what is Ashish's checklist for, you know, my person?
You know, I think it's, you need people who are happy people, right? Who are clean in their vibe, right? They can be difficult. You know, Freddie is not the easiest guy to work with. Neither am I, nor is Sarah, but that's not a problem. The problem is, are they clean at heart? Do they smile a lot? Are they funny? You know, do they bring love and laughter to your life? And are they just fun to be with? And I think that's the key. You know, are you learning something from them?
Right.
Are they challenging you? So that's really
it's the vibe.
Yeah.
And what would be your favorite city?
Rome.
Is it?
Yeah.
For business?
For business, I think Goa. I think Goa is fabulous.
But isn't it hard to make people work in
Goa? No, it's susegad. Everyone's relaxed. Everyone's chilled. It is a nightmare, no doubt, to get people to work. But
I mean, I'm sure they're not like hustlers, right?
They're not hustlers, but what a vibe, you know. What a great city to just operate in.
What made you navigate through struggles, you know, in this entire journey? Because I'm sure we look at it as successful man today. But there's hundreds of things which must be going around wrong almost every week.
I think it's attitude, you know. When you wake up in the morning, you don't pray for lesser problems. You pray for the strength to manage with the problems. So it's all attitude.
And what gives you the high to get so many restaurants? I mean, I'm sure you have like plenty of ideas coming in for coming more years. What's the high? Like, I mean, people get done with one place.
I think the high is, you know, I love seeing people smile in the restaurants. There's great energy to seeing staff happy and succeeding, you know, creating things that people feel are world class. Getting people proposing in restaurants, getting marriages, anniversaries, birthdays, celebrations. a new food, avant-garde cocktails, is just always pushing the barrier to just innovating.
Yeah, right. And how important do you think it is for a serial entrepreneur to go through no's, to get that habit of people?
No, it's very important. You know, like I said, date early in life and hear enough no's, because life is, in fact, even you should say a lot of no's.
Okay.
You know,
you
don't need to be a people pleaser. You just need to do the right thing and have the guts to say no when things are going wrong.
And why do you think people always say yes to you?
They don't. I wish they did.
Are you serious? I think
I've heard my fair share of no's too.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay. So the last question is from Ajay, and he wants to know, when are you going to collaborate with Salud?
Listen, I love the brand. I think I love the name. I love the drink. I love the style around it, and I'm just waiting to be proposed.
So
I'm
we're
more than
coming
happy.
to Goa then?
Absolutely,
Sure? Yeah.
absolutely. Looking forward to the Salud way of life.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashish.
Thank you. Cheers, ma'am.
It's really good talking to you.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you agreed for the interview.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully we'll have Salud time soon.